Hey guys, Ratchet Reviews here again with another Transformers video review. This time I'm going to take a look at the Transformers Cybertron Leader Class Optimus Prime. Now, thanks to 2BTV, I've actually been able to rewatch the Unicron trilogy. I grew up with the Unicron trilogy toys mostly, but had a very hard time getting the cartoon watched back when it was airing. So thanks again to that site, I've actually been able to rewatch some of the Transformers series that I never really got around to watching, and I had a newfound love for the Transformers Cybertron toys. Especially the show itself wasn't that bad either, but like just specifically the way the toys were designed, and I just had a sense of nostalgia and I wanted to go out searching for them all over again. So I'm going to be taking a look at what Cybertron figures I've gotten so far, and down the road we'll update with more as they come into the collection. This is primarily what I'm focusing on collection wise now, so we're going to go ahead and take a look at the big boss bot first. And here he is in controversial fire truck mode. Controversial for two reasons. Is one, of course, Optimus Prime. Fans don't really like him being a fire truck. And two, what kind of fire truck do you know as a giant cannon sticking off of him? Two giant cannons sticking off of him. Also, his fists are the grill, but slash bumper. Now, I love this figure, regardless of the strange design choices going on, but I overall really do love this figure. So we'll be going over some of the nice details. As you can see, a lot of nice rivet details and some painted on sculpt work. There are a lot of nice detail going into this. Come around the back, this is something that kind of are used to nowadays, but there's nothing going on the back of the vehicle mode. There's no paint. I mean, they could have painted this silver, and then in the show we see on the animation model that there is like these giant tanks, like 8 tanks sticking up in this section here, and that shows up on his robot mode too, but missing on the toy. And as you can see, he rolls pretty well. I do like the nice clear blue windows and light bars. Almost forgot what they were called for a moment. Now, unfortunately, with the Hasbro market release, I just broke my makeshift shadow box. So there's a couple paint details that were omitted on this that were present on the Takara release. So, for example, the lights here on top of the cab were also painted on the Takara one. These guns here were fully painted red on all the sides, instead of just leaving this piece here just bare. There was also, these pieces were made out of more of a durable plastic. These are kind of softer plastic, so they won't break, but they were also pinned into this section here. But aside for differences, I think that's about it. Also going on to design, he's not, for a robot in disguise, he's not hidden very well. And unlike some of the other characters in Cybertron where they have alternate modes that don't make sense because, or as a disguise because they're not from Earth, this is actually in the show inspired by an Earth fire truck. So Optimus did tweak it a little bit to fit his own body design, I suppose, and that's where the giant cannons come to play. but you can disguise, you can just play it off saying that this one is a ladder and this one is the fire hose. But also, like I mentioned before, there's not a lot of elements that are being hidden. Clearly the front bumper is his fists, and his head is just poking out here at the top. And we'll get more into the not so in disguise about this figure here in a little bit. Size comparison here. I want to show him off next to the Voyager War for Cybertron Optimus Prime, just to get a good look at how he fares with a modern day Transformers figure. And yeah, he obviously he's a little bit bigger because he's at a different price point too. So, but just get a nice comparison. So, because I know a lot of people have either this or the Earthrise Optimus figure, which are very similar molds and pretty good judgment piece to use for a review now. And on to gimmicks for this mode. We do have the water cannon. Water cannon does have a firing missile gimmick here, which just fires out a single blue missile. And then the other cannon, the ladder, I suppose, has a button right in here, and when you press it, it does that sound effect right now. And it repeats, and it just covers over every time you push the button. It doesn't repeat if you hold it down. Take a look at his Cyberkey right now, just because I do really like the way this one's designed. It's got handles on the side to make it reminiscent of the Matrix. And this is another change between the Hasbro and Takara releases, is that, one, all Hasbro released Transformers Cybertron figures, with their Cyberkey included, has a code on the back. This one being L8P3. Now, what this would do is, if in 2005 you got on the Transformers website, there was a spot that you can plug the codes into and get some extra detailed information off of the Transformers that these keys were included. Also, concept art, Japanese box art, some additional information about the character. So, these were nice little bits at the time, but shortly after 2005, they canceled that part of the website and started working, I guess, on marketing the classics and movie line of figures at that point. Also, the rim around the entire body of the key in the Takara release was painted gold, as well as the handles, whereas it was left omitted on here, probably just to save on paint costs and to allow for a little bit more paint work to be done on the main figure. So, now for this Cyberkey gimmick, it focuses only on the two cannons here. So we have this one and this one, and as you can see for this one, what's going to happen is we're going to plug the key in, and that will deploy two more missile launchers. And I'm not going to fire those off because everybody knows what a firing missile looks like by now, hopefully. And the other one, this one is pretty cool. I do like this one. I actually am going to save this one for the Super Robot mode, because it fits in with that one a lot better. Now for this, what's going to happen is, well, also I do want to point out there's some articulation with these. They do if you hold on to them in the right spot. They do rotate out on a ratchet joint and also rotate up. So you do get a lot of use out of them, a lot of playability, and especially with the gimmicks included. Now, another transformation that he does have that we'll get into before we start going into robot modes is he does have a flight mode. And it's just about as silly as you'd expect. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to take these entire panels here and fold them out and then rotate them so they are parallel with the body of the truck. And then take these here and swing them forward. And then you can do whatever you want with the wings. You can flip them up like this. I like that look, but I also do like to keep them down just because. But for the sake of the review, and actually I do actually like that better. And then repeat the process on this side. Fold the cannons up. And then these two guns here on the side will rotate down like so. And there we have a flight mode. Which this thing is huge, and in order for me to get this in a shot, I have to hold it with both hands and lean over my camera and almost knock it over. So, yeah. And it also kind of nullifies the Cyberkey Gimmick at this point too, because those key slots are a little bit covered up. So there's that. Now, to get from here to the next mode that we're going to, is what we're going to do is we're going to just take this entire section off, which is going to be the backpack section and these two leg sections here. And we're going to just, I like to push it down, and that will unpeg it from these series of pegs on the legs and on those pieces. Put down Optimus so you can see that better. So these pieces here, and that helps separate it all out. And then, now I do remember that he uses this in the show, but I don't remember if it is in the instructions. But you can fold the quote-unquote trailer up to form a combat deck. So just by folding the side panels all the way back in, folding the wingtips all the way out, and then positioning the guns however you would like, you can get a combat deck battle platform out of it. Which doesn't look bad either. It's a pretty nice little piece, especially if you want to have standard Optimus Prime pose with it. Which, here he is in his standard truck mode. Now this is one thing I really do enjoy, is that they considered this its own alt mode, where it's literally just a cab of a fire truck. But it's also very obviously Optimus laying down. Or sitting down, I guess. So, still rolls. This time, though, because there's no weight on the back to hold it down. And these wheels are actually on shock absorbers, so that's kind of cool. But yeah, as you can see, since there's no real weight to hold the back down, these wheels don't like to roll all that well. But we still have 4 out of 6 rolling, so not the end of the world. Now, to get him transformed into his standard robot mode from here, by the way, no real new detail showing except for orange parts on the legs, which that's not really much to talk about. But anyways, to get from robot mode from here, what we're going to do is we're going to take these back sections and fold them all the way down and around. I'm going to move the camera up so we can make sure this all stays in frame. And then what I like to do here is I like to bend the knees, because if you can see in there, there's a little black bar that these pieces kind of wedge up into, and it does kind of lock everything into place there. So bending the knees first does help bring the legs down, and keeps the panel from getting out of the way. Then straighten the knees back up, separate the legs, and actually go one step further. And if you can see right here, you can actually slide the thighs or the calves down past the knee. You can slide those over a little bit to kind of fill out his stance a little bit and kind of make his legs not so blocked together. And then, as you see here, what I was trying to do is I was trying to take the waist piece and fold that down, and then keeping the matrix chamber closed, and then folding the windows up to form the chest, and then take the cab sections here, fold them up, and then split them apart and swing them around, and then rotate the arms down and around like so. And then we got the main body. And then last thing we're going to do here is we're going to take this switch here and push it all the way up, and that will reveal the head. So now here's Optimus Prime transformed into his standard robot mode, and a very nice robot mode. I really do enjoy the way this looks. Come here, take a look at the head sculpt. Now this is one head sculpt that is really controversial again with this toy, just for being a not so standard Optimus Prime design, because we have an Optimus Primal-esque cut out mouth plate around a mouth. So yeah, a lot of fans weren't happy about that, and we can rectify that, which I will show off later. But that is one thing I just wanted to point out. Other things to note for the details, I do really like the way his whole silhouette looks in this mode. Funny thing to point out is that the shoulder pads with both halves of a fire truck and the way the chest piece is shaped is reminiscent to Choryujin from the King of Braves Gal Gaigar series. So that was one thing that Hasbro and Takara rolled over from Takara's attempt to deviate away from the Transformers line. That was one thing that they took from that, which there's a bunch of other things that we can get into about this series, and we will get to later with other figures reviews. Now, over here to the combat deck, if you really want to, you can have Optimus kind of like standing behind it and kind of commanding it to fire off, or you can go ahead and take this piece off, and this becomes Optimus's Ion Blaster. Now, this is very reminiscent to the previous series, Energon, the Energon Blaster that Optimus used in the show, and also Hasbro created a Nerf gun of. So, I just got the combat deck out of the way for now. So, here is the Ion Blaster. Nothing really special about it. It does have some nice molded detail. It's just the front of the cannon that we saw. And, to get him to hold on to it, since he's got these weird paws for hands, is that you could see a little peg hole on the inside of his hand, and there are pegs corresponding to the handle of the blaster. And so you just line all of that up, and he can hold the Ion Blaster in his hands. Also, something to note for detail-wise, the new details that show up in this mode is that he does have the white stripe on his chest carry over, just kind of break up the monochromatic chest design, and then he does have some very traditional waist armor design going on. This is very reminiscent with the yellow and the blue patterns to the original Optimus Prime, at least his animation model. Posability wise, we do have a head on a swivel, so we can get up to 360-degree rotation out of it. We also have shoulders on a 360-degree swivel, as well as a ratchet joint to swing outwards that far. And due to transformation, if you do break the transformation a little bit, well, I guess you can't really get it to function right. But then we also do get a bicep swivel cut just right above the elbow, and that will allow for some 360-degree rotation, as well as a ratcheting hinge in the elbow for a 90-degree bend, both forward and backwards thanks to the transformation. And we also do get the hands to open up. And then waist articulation, if we get the arms out of the way. These pieces here are actually on really thin panels and a really tight faux ratchet joint. So be very careful when you move these panels out of the way. But once you do get them out of the way, he can kick out all the way out, like so. And bring it down. And you can kick back all the way far back. And then if you get the waist skirt armor piece out of the way, he can kick all the way forward. And he has a 90-degree bend in the knee. And a thigh swivel here. And that's it for the articulation. And other accessories he does have in this mode, we already showed the Ion Blaster. But he does also have a Matrix of Leadership. And if I'm remembering correctly, this was the first time we had an Optimus Prime retail release figure have a removable Matrix of Leadership. So what we do, just to remove it, is we open up the chest. Either you can slide the doors open like that, or you can swing them around and kind of get it open like that, however you prefer. And then also this piece does swing down. And I found out it's actually really easy to get the waist armor folded up first and then kind of get it to pull down, loosening that and revealing the Matrix. And then if you have small enough fingers, you could actually get in here and remove the Matrix. It does prove to be a little difficult to do, but once you get that removed, Matrix, which is very accurate to how it appears in the Cybertron cartoon, all gray. We got the handles, and we got an orange gem in the front, and it's completely unpainted in the back. And then you can go ahead and look at the Matrix chamber here. A lot of nice new details showing up. None of that's painted, unfortunately. It's all just bare red plastic. So I don't even know how well that's coming on my camera. So we can go ahead and close that all back up. And there's Optimus in his standard robot mode. And pretty much everything's shown off in this mode that we can. Going on to size comparison now. I'm going to put him up next to another modern figure. This time, instead of Optimus, it's going to be the Siege Ultra Magnus, which is the same size as Optimus, same body style. So in this mode, so I figured it was a good piece to compare it to. So pretty much standing nice side by side. And then also I got stretched to grab him, but just go ahead and take a look at another definitive Optimus Prime figure that a lot of people probably have, just to get a good comparison, is the Masterpiece MP10 Optimus Prime. who seems to be standing kind of weird. Oh. There we go. Alright. So, as you can see how they stand side by side. In this mode, Optimus is just a little bit shorter than a Masterpiece. And a little bit bigger than a Voyager class figure. So, there's that. And now, if we hang on just a quick moment, I'm going to get Ultra Magnus ready for the other comparison that I'm going to do here in a bit. So I'll go ahead and make a little quick cut just so I can get this done and you're not waiting on me to transform the figure. So I will be right back. Alright, now for the final bit of transformation to do on this figure, we're going to come back to the combat deck here. And we're going to remove the blaster out of Optimus's hand. And then from here, what we're going to do is we're going to take these blue sections here from the combat deck and get them removed. Get that set down out of the way and separated, and then swing these cannons around. And just like that. Next we're going to come to Optimus Prime here. We're going to fold these down, and we're actually going to take it one step further and like as you're sliding this piece back, also rotate it around, and then you can fold the foot down, and then take this section here, or this piece here, and peg that into, it's going to peg in here, and this peg is going to peg slash slot into this section here. So that goes in there, and then that goes there. And then repeat it on the other side. Just like that. Alright, and then we're going to come here to the backpack section now. And what we're going to do is we're going to fold these wings all the way out, like so. And this is another big change. I don't understand why, but according to the instructions that were printed with the Hasbro release, the way you transform it for this mode is to just rotate the guns like so, and have them go over his shoulder. Now that's inaccurate, and we're going to follow the way it's done in the show and the Japanese Takara instructions. And we're going to fold these around and destroy my backdrops here in the process. And then we're going to fold these panels up, and then come to Optimus here, and these are going to slide in right here. These are going to go through these sections here on his back, and they're going to go all the way through, and then fold these sections down to lock it in place. He is getting very back heavy in this mode right now, so I actually have him propped up on the cannons to get the rest of this in shot. And then finally, to do the last bit of the transformation, I'm gonna swing back around here, and there is this little lever Don't know how well you can see that, but there's this lever here on the back of Optimus's head that if you pull it down, we're going to need that for the rest of his head reveal. And then fold the wings out and then get that pulled down. And there we have the classic Optimus Prime head. And then we can swing the cannons forward and underslung like so. To get the look finalized. And I'm going to put them all the way back here so I can see if I can get the whole figure in shot. But there is the Cybertron Leader Optimus Prime all transformed into his super mode. And as far as super modes go, with Optimus Primes in the Unicron trilogy, this one is by far the strongest. Not just the strongest strength-wise, but also the strongest as a cohesive form. Now, the Armada one was alright, and then the Energon one was okay as well, but that one did kind of reminisce from a Scramble City style of combination, and also looked very Megazord Power Rangers-esque. So we have here a fully definitive version of an Optimus Prime super mode. And also, if you don't want to have the cannons at the ready, you can swing them back and around. Like so. And he's actually standing up for me. For once, so that's good. Thankfully, the ratchet joints in his legs are really tight, so even though he is extremely back heavy in this mode, he can at least hold his weight a lot better than you'd expect. Now, no real new detail showing in this mode that we haven't already seen. He does have the he does now have bigger shoes and a nice wide backpack. So if you're going to get this figure, just make sure that you have a display set for him. That's a pretty big area, just because of those cannons and those wings. He does take up a lot of space. New details, I guess you can say that we do expose the traditional mouth-plated Optimus Prime look, as well as get some new details in the side fins of his head. I'm going to go ahead and take the camera and zoom it in here. Just want to get a nice look at that head mode, or that head sculpt. Just like that. Also, one thing I want to note is, unlike a lot of the other figures in this line, this one does have painted eyes. We will discuss that further with some other reviews. And size comparison now. We're going to bring out the Masterpiece Optimus Prime again. So you can get a look at how he scales next to the Masterpiece that a lot of people probably have already had for quite some time and have definitely at least have one version of. Mine is specifically the Hasbro Asia release, which was the special edition that came with Vector Sigma and the die-cast key, so but that's not important right now. We're here to talk about this big bot. And then also another more recent release too. We're going back to the Siege Ultra Magnus. This time we're just going to take a look at him in his powered up mode. And this is where a lot of people have been complaining about Transformers in the recent years, is that they have definitely indeed gotten smaller. Now, you can argue that there's more engineering in this than there is this, which I can agree with. There's also a lot less paint applications in this than this, and a lot less plastic than this and this. There's a lot of places that they cheap out and hollow, especially if you look here in the legs, they hollow out to make up for cost. And this one uses almost no hollowed out spots. You notice throughout the entire review, not really anything is hollowed out except for what's needed for function. So, that in mind, this in 2005 retailed at approximately $40, $40 or $45 depending on where you bought it. This sucker, with all of those improvements in engineering and removing paint and also adding paint that wasn't needed, this thing cost $50 at retail. 40, 50. Which one looks like it would be more bang for your buck? And if you said this guy, you are right. And especially now in aftermarket prices, this thing still holds a great bang for your buck. I bought mine for $120 and it came with the box, so I was more than pleased. And articulation wise, nothing new is on this one either. Go ahead and take a quick look at the other the accessories again. Nothing new that we haven't already seen before, but new ways to use what we haven't, or what we've already seen. So we're gonna go ahead and swing the cannons forward again. And we're actually just gonna leave his arms over the cannons this time instead of underneath. Actually works a little bit better. So we already saw what it did, what the Cyberkey did when we plugged it into this gun. And that was, it popped out the 2 additional missile launchers. Now, coming back to this one, the electronics still work in this mode. Nothing's really changed with that. It still does the generic gunfire noise. But now if we bring the Cyberkey in and plug that into this one, it does light up and gives us a new charging up noise. And also, pushing the button, if you just push it, it does a fast fire. But if you hold it, it does a charge noise. So that's a really cool feature. And if you really want him armed to the teeth, these guns that are on the side of his legs could also rotate out. And yeah, unfortunately this is one of those Cyberkey gimmicks that you can't remove the Cyberkey from in order for it to work. Still, it has to be plugged in. So you gotta be careful not to pop it out. Otherwise you could break it. Or break the gimmick. Not break it, but just put it back to default. So there is Cybertron Optimus Prime, all ready for action. Very well firepower heavied figure. just spouting out random words at this point. So overall, very great figure. I do love this one. I cannot praise this figure enough. If you find it for a very good price, I would suggest picking it up. And aftermarket prices are a little bit still sketchy. Like I said with mine, I spent $120 for it, I think, and that came with the box, and I am still more than pleased with my purchase. So definitely, again, if you can find this one, pick it up. A very nice addition to any collection for Transformers, either if you're like me and trying to get into some Unicron Trilogy stuff again, or just need to finish filling out the Optimus Primes throughout the years. Definitely a must-buy. Anyways, this has been Retro Reviews. I hope you guys liked this video review. More Transformers Cybertron figures coming in the next few days, so definitely keep an eye out on that, and I will see you next time. Bye.